The real Lion King story, the true African legend behind the name. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're traveling far from the usual headlines and deep into the heart of medieval West Africa. This is the story of a boy who could not walk, a prince forced into exile, a leader who rose to defeat a feared sorcerer king, and the founder of one of the most powerful empires in African history. In this video, we'll move slowly, like a caravan at night, and follow the life of Sundiata Keita, the Lion of Mali. We'll explore his world, the battles he fought, the laws he built, and the legacy that still echoes centuries later. So get comfortable, maybe grab something to drink, and let the visuals loop while the story unfolds. If you enjoy deep dives into history told as epic stories, you're in the right place. Let's begin. There is a moment in almost every great civilization when the world seems to hold its breath. A moment when an ordinary landscape becomes a stage for something that will echo across centuries. For medieval West Africa, that moment has a name: Sundiata Keita. Long before skyscrapers, satellites, and social media, caravans of traders crossed the Sahara by starlight, carrying salt, gold, books, and stories. On the southern edge of that vast desert, in the lands of the Niger River, a new empire began to rise. It did not start with a peaceful council or a smooth succession. It began with a boy who could not walk, with a mother many called strange, with a ruthless enemy whose armies spread fear across the land. Out of that fear, out of exile, humiliation, and prophecy, came a man who would be remembered as the Lion of Mali, the founder of an empire whose wealth and power astonished travelers from distant lands. This is the story of Sundiata Keita, a story carried not in books at first, but on the tongues of griots, West African bards, who recited his life for generations. A story that sits somewhere between history and legend, between the world of fact and the world of myth. In this video, we will walk slowly, step by step, through that story. We will travel back to a time when kingdoms rose and fell along the Niger. We will meet the boy who was never supposed to rule, the sorcerer king who tried to crush him, and the people who risked everything to follow him. So settle in. Let the pace be slow, like a caravan moving by moonlight. Because to understand the greatness of Sundiata Keita, we first have to understand the world that made him necessary. Long before Sundiata was born, West Africa was already home to powerful kingdoms. For centuries, one name loomed large over this region: the Ghana Empire. Despite the name, this ancient Ghana was not located in the modern country we call Ghana today. It was farther north and west, controlling trade routes that linked the goldfields of the south with the salt mines of the Sahara. Gold flowed out of its lands. Influence flowed with it. But no empire lasts forever. Over time, Ghana weakened. Shifting trade routes, internal struggles, and pressure from new powers chipped away at its strength. As Ghana declined, a vacuum opened in the Western Sahel, a dangerous empty space where new rulers could rise. Around this vacuum lived a collection of peoples and small kingdoms. Among them, the Mande, or Mandinka, speakers spread across the savannas and forests. They were farmers and traders, warriors and smiths, priests and storytellers. Their villages dotted the landscape like beads on a necklace, connected by shared language, culture, and kinship ties. One of those small Mande kingdoms was Kangaba, sometimes associated with the later capital, Niani. It was not yet a great empire. It was a local power, a piece on a larger political chessboard dominated by others. As Ghana fell, another force began to rise: Soso. At its head stood a man whose name would become one of the great villains in Mande tradition, Sumanguru Kante. To some, he was a gifted leader and a powerful warlord. To the griots who preserved the epic of Sundiata, he became more than a man. He became a sorcerer king, a figure wrapped in fear and magic. Sumanguru's Soso kingdom expanded aggressively. One by one, neighboring territories found themselves conquered or forced to pay tribute. Among them were Mande communities, who would later form the core of the Mali Empire. So imagine the scene: the old empire of Ghana, weakened and fading. A new, harsh power, Soso, rising quickly. Smaller kingdoms and clans, like those of the Mande, caught in the middle, unsure of their future. It is into this world, a world of collapsing old orders and terrifying new rulers, that Sundiata Keita would be born. Not yet as a hero, not yet as an emperor, but as a child in a court overshadowed by fear. In many epic traditions, great lives begin with a prophecy, and the story of Sundiata is no different. According to the griots, the king of Kangaba, often called Magan Konfata, received a strange prediction. A seer, or diviner, told him that if he married a particular woman, one who would appear weak, perhaps even disfigured or mocked, their son would become a great ruler. For a king, that was a tempting promise and a disturbing one. To secure the future, he would have to accept a bride who did not fit the expectations of beauty and status at his court. That bride was Sogolon. In many versions of the story, she is described as hunchbacked or otherwise physically unusual. Courtiers laugh at her. Co-wives look down on her. But in the logic of the epic, the more others underestimate her, the clearer it becomes that she carries something extraordinary. Maghan Konfata marries Sogolon, honoring the prophecy despite the whispers in his palace. From this union, a child is born, Sundiata. His name, in some interpretations, can be linked to Sogolon's son, or the Lion of Sogolon, tying him directly to the mother whom so many dismissed. The birth does not immediately transform the kingdom. There is no instant coronation, no overnight change. Instead, what changes is possibility. Some in the court remember the prophecy and watch the child closely. Others, especially rival co-wives and their children, see Sundiata as a threat to their own ambitions. From his very first days then, Sundiata's life is surrounded by tension, hope and jealousy, faith in prophecy and fear of its consequences. In some nights, the griots say, Sogolon looks at her child and sees not just a son, but a future for her people. She knows the road will be hard. She knows others will try to block his path. But she also knows what the seer has promised, that this boy, born under a cloud of doubt, is destined to rise higher than anyone in Kangaba can imagine. For a destined hero, Sundiata's childhood begins with a cruel twist. In many versions of the epic, the boy does not walk. Year after year passes, and still he crawls on the ground. In a warrior culture, where strength and physical ability are central to manhood and leadership, this is more than just a medical problem. It is an embarrassment, a public spectacle. Other children run and play with spears. They chase each other in the dust, learning the moves they'll one day use in battle. Sundiata, meanwhile, moves slowly on his hands and knees. His body refuses to match the greatness promised by prophecy. The court, already divided, finds new reasons to talk. Some mock Sogolon, saying her strange appearance has cursed her child. Others whisper that if this is the prophesied ruler, then perhaps the prophecy was wrong. Rivals feel emboldened. If the future king can't even stand, then their own son's chances look much better. For Sogolon, the pain is double. She suffers the insults aimed at her son and the doubts aimed at herself. Yet in the epic tradition, she remains fiercely protective. She shields Sundiata from the worst of the scorn and waits. There is a moment, a famous scene in many tellings, when everything changes. One day, the insults go too far. Perhaps a co-wife mocks Sogolon openly. Perhaps her son, or others in the court, humiliate Sundiata directly. Sogolon breaks down, crying in front of her son. She wonders aloud what kind of life he will have if he cannot even defend her from laughter. Hearing his mother's sorrow, Sundiata feels something burn inside him. In that instant, destiny collides with determination. The boy who has never walked decides that this must end. He asks for an iron staff, maybe more than one. Servants and smiths hurry to bring him a rod, heavy and strong. The courtyard falls silent. Everyone watches. They expect another embarrassment. Sundiata pulls himself up, gripping the iron. His legs tremble under him. The weight of his body and of his future presses down. With a cry, part effort, part rage, part awakening, he stands. Some versions say the iron staff bends or breaks under the force of his struggle. Others describe the ground itself bearing the marks of this first step. But what matters is simple. The boy walks. In a culture that values strength, this moment is more than personal triumph. It is a sign. The prophecy has not lied. The child of Sogolon and Magan Konfata is not a joke, not a curse. He is a lion learning to stand. From that day on, Sundiata begins to grow into the kind of person the prophecy promised. He trains with weapons. He learns to ride. He gains a reputation for courage and physical power. In the eyes of the people, something shifts. Those who laughed start to fall quiet. Those who believed start to hope again. But court politics do not disappear just because a boy has learned to walk. If anything, they intensify. Because now, Sundiata is no longer just a rumor or a disappointment. He is a real threat to anyone who dreams of the throne. Years pass. The boy who could not walk grows into a young man. Sundiata now stands tall in the courtyards of Niani, strong in body, respected by many. He trains with spear and bow. He rides horses with an ease that impresses older warriors. Some say his voice carries authority beyond his years. But inside the palace, not everyone is pleased. Where there is a prophecy, there is always fear. Every sign of Sundiata's growing strength becomes proof that the old prediction might be real. For those who dreamed of placing their own sons on the throne, this is not good news. Among these rivals, one figure often emerges in the epic, a co-wife of Sogolon, sometimes named Sasuma. She is ambitious, proud, and fiercely protective of her own child's claim. In the private corners of the palace, whispers gather like smoke. Look at him, some say. The one who could not even stand now wins the hearts of warriors. If the people rally behind Sogolon's son, what will become of ours? Then comes the turning point that every royal household must face. The king, Magan Konfata, grows old and dies. His death is more than personal grief. It is a rupture in the order of things. A king's passing raises the most dangerous question in any monarchy. Who will rule next? Custom, prophecy, and popularity all seem to point towards Sundiata. But court politics rarely follow a straight line. Sasuma and others move quickly. They work behind the scenes to secure the succession for their preferred heir, often named Dankarantuman in the tradition. They appeal to nobles who fear change. They whisper to those who might lose their influence under Sundiata's rule. When the dust settles, the throne does not go to the boy of prophecy. It goes to his half-brother. Dankaran Tuman becomes king. Sogolon's line is pushed aside. Sundiata finds himself a prince without a crown, a threat inside his own home. At the same time, beyond the borders of Kangaba, the shadow of another power grows longer. Sumanguru Kante, the ruler of Soso, tightens his grip on the region. Stories spread of his cruelty. Villages forced to pay heavy tribute. Defiance punished without mercy. In the epic, Sumanguru is no ordinary king. He is a sorcerer king, a man whose knowledge of occult forces terrifies even hardened warriors. He is said to wear the skins of his enemies, to keep a room full of fetishes and charms, to be immune to ordinary weapons. Whether or not every detail is literal, the effect is real. People live in fear of him. His name becomes a warning, a threat used to hush disobedient children at night. Inside Nyani then, Sundiata faces pressure from two sides. From within, jealousy, political maneuvering, the hostility of Sasuma's faction. From without, the looming danger of Sumanguru's growing empire. The prophecy that once seemed like a blessing now feels like a burden. Everyone knows that if Sundiata stays, he will eventually become the center of a storm. And in the dangerous world of royal courts, storms are not always survived. There comes a point when staying is more dangerous than leaving. For Sogolon and Sundiata, that moment arrives slowly, then all at once. As Dankaran Tuman's rule settles into place, pressure on Sundiata's family intensifies. Insults become sharper. Resources become scarcer. Old allies grow quiet, afraid to be seen too close to the boy of prophecy. Sasuma's hostility takes on a new edge. A rival prince inside the kingdom is a constant threat. The simplest solution is to remove that threat. In some versions of the story, attempts are made to humiliate or weaken Sundiata. In others, the danger feels more direct, more deadly. Either way, Sogolon understands the truth. If her son is to survive, he may have to leave the very land he was born to rule. So a decision is made. The details vary from one griot to another, but the core is the same. Sundiata and his close family go into exile. Imagine the scene. A small group leaves the familiar walls of Nyani. The dust of their homeland rises behind them with each step. They carry what they can, but they leave behind far more. Memories, friends, a claim to the throne. For a young man raised to believe he has a destiny, this is a bitter journey. He is no longer the prince at the center of the court. He is a guest, a supplicant, moving from foreign court to foreign court. Yet exile is not only loss, it is also an education. As Sundiata travels, he sees how other rulers govern. He learns about neighboring peoples, their customs, their strengths, their fears. He observes alliances and rivalries, justice and injustice. In some places, he is welcomed warmly. Rulers who dislike Soso or distrust Kangaba's current leadership see value in hosting this ambitious, dispossessed prince. They offer him shelter, food, perhaps even a place among their warriors. In other places, the welcome is cooler. A prince without a throne can be useful, but he can also bring trouble. Sundiata learns when to speak and when to stay silent. He learns patience, the hardest lesson for someone who can feel history pulling at him. Meanwhile, Sogolon grows older. The woman who once endured mockery in Nyani now endures the hardships of wandering life. But she remains the thread that ties Sundiata back to his origin story. Her presence reminds him who he is and where he comes from. At night, by the light of a flickering fire, one can imagine her speaking softly. Remember, my son, you are not just a guest here. You are the child of a promise, waiting for its hour. Exile stretches from days into months, from months into years. A whole chapter of Sundiata's life unfolds, far from the land he is meant to rule. And yet, while he learns and grows in foreign courts, something else is happening back home. Sumanguru's shadow is lengthening. The people of Mande feel the weight of his power pressing down on them. At some point, the pressure will become unbearable. When that happens, they will need someone to lead them. Someone who knows their world, but has seen others. Someone hardened by loss and sharpened by experience. Exile is not the end of Sundiata's story. It is the furnace in which his leadership is forged. Far from Kangabar, Sundiata comes into his own. In many tellings of the epic, he spends his exile in several different kingdoms, each shaping him in a unique way. He serves in foreign armies. He proves himself in battle. He earns the respect of seasoned warriors who know nothing of his prophecy, only what they see with their own eyes. This is an important shift. In his homeland, stories about Sundiata often revolve around destiny. In exile, they revolve around merit. He is no longer the boy who will one day be king. He is simply a soldier, a commander, a trusted guest, evaluated on his courage, wisdom, and reliability. As he wins victories for others, he gains something more valuable than land. He gains a reputation. Word spreads quietly, as it always does. There is a Mande prince here, people say in foreign courts. He fights well. He advises well. He commands loyalty. Rulers begin to see him as an asset in their own struggles. Some might dream of marrying him into their families, tying his potential future to their own bloodlines. Others see him as a potential ally against their enemies. Sundiata, meanwhile, watches and learns. He sees which kinds of rulers inspire love and which inspire only fear. He sees which alliances hold and which crack under pressure. He studies the art of holding power, not just seizing it. He also builds his own circle. Brothers, friends, loyal fighters, and relatives gather around him. Some have followed him from Mande. Others join along the way, drawn by his character, his charisma, or the sense that this young exile is going somewhere important. Every leader who will one day change the world has a period like this. A quieter time, far from the spotlight, when they are still being shaped. For Sundiata, these are the years when destiny stops being an abstract idea and becomes a set of skills, relationships, and lived experiences. Meanwhile, back in the lands of the Mande, the situation worsens. Sumanguru's rule grows harsher. Taxation increases. Rebellions are crushed. The memory of the old, more local rulers begins to glow with a kind of nostalgic warmth. People begin to ask, where is the son of Sogolon? Where is the one we heard about in the prophecies? If he is still alive, why does he not return? Across desert paths and forest trails, rumors travel. Some say he has become a forgotten wanderer. Others insist he is gathering strength, waiting for the right moment. Sundiata does not yet know it, but the threads of history are starting to twist toward him. The pain of his exile is about to meet the pain of his people. And when those two pains finally touch, they will ignite something powerful. To understand why Sundiata is eventually called back, we need to look more closely at the man who dominates the region in his absence, Sumanguru Kante. In the epic tradition, Sumanguru is more than a conqueror. He is a symbol of oppression, a figure whose power seems almost supernatural. His kingdom of Soso expands like a dark tide. Village after village falls under his control. Local rulers bend the knee or are swept aside. Tribute flows toward his capital: grain, livestock, crafted goods, and, most of all, people. The burden on ordinary families grows heavier with each passing year. For many Mande communities, life under Sumanguru becomes a daily negotiation with fear. Stories about him blur the line between reality and myth. Some say he keeps the heads of defeated kings as trophies. Others claim he can disappear and reappear at will, shielded by powerful charms. Weapons, they say, bounce off his body. He walks through battlefields untouched, as if the very laws of nature bend around him. Whether these tales are literal or symbolic, they all serve the same purpose. They communicate terror. For people living under his rule, Sumanguru feels unstoppable. He is not just a man, but a force. In this atmosphere, even small acts of resistance feel dangerous. A village that hides part of its harvest risks brutal punishment. A chief who hesitates to send his best warriors to Sumanguru's campaigns risks losing his position or his life. Over time, though, pressure builds. There is only so much people can endure before something cracks. Among the Mande, the sense grows that their identity, their way of life, is being squeezed out. They remember a time when local kings ruled, when decisions were made closer to home. They remember the stories of Magan Komfata, of Sogolon, of the boy who once could not walk but rose to his feet, surrounded by awe. These memories begin to mix with current suffering. They form a quiet, dangerous question. What if we had our own king again? But to make that dream real, they will need more than nostalgia. They will need a leader strong enough to stand against Sumanguru, a leader with military skill, loyal allies, and a claim that people can rally behind. Somewhere beyond their borders, such a person exists. He's been learning, fighting, and waiting, without knowing exactly what he is waiting for. Soon, messengers will be sent. Caravans will set out with more than goods. They will carry a plea. The people of Mande are ready to risk everything. They are ready to call back the prince they once allowed to slip away. The turning point begins with whispers, then with journeys. In the lands of the Mande, chiefs and elders meet in hidden councils. Away from the ears of Sumanguru's agents, they speak openly about their suffering. They speak about the future of their children. They speak about their fear that if nothing changes, the Mande identity they cherish will be swallowed completely. In these circles, one name keeps returning: Sundiata. He is not there, but his memory is. The boy who overcame disability. The young man whose strength and character once filled the courtyards of Niani. The prince of prophecy, now tempered by exile. These leaders know that if they are to openly defy Sumanguru, they must have a figure capable of uniting them. If each small kingdom fights alone, they will be crushed. Together, under one banner, they might have a chance. So a decision is made. They will send envoys to find Sundiata and ask him to return. Imagine the difficulty of this task. The medieval West African world is vast. Communication is slow. Borders are not drawn neatly on maps, but marked by rivers, forests, and shifting alliances. Yet, information travels. Trade routes that carry salt and gold also carry news. The envoys ask questions at every stop. Have you heard of a Mande prince in exile? Do you know of a warrior named Sundiata, son of Sogolon? Piece by piece, the trail forms. From one court to another, from one market town to the next, they follow rumors and reports. Eventually, they find him. By now, Sundiata is no longer a boy. He is a seasoned leader with experience in war and diplomacy. He has built relationships, earned honors, and perhaps even grown comfortable in his new environment. When the envoys arrive, they bring more than polite greetings. They bring the weight of an entire people's desperation. They tell him of Sumanguru's cruelty. They describe the burden on the Mande, the broken families, the lost freedoms. They speak of the chief's desire to resist, and their belief that he, Sundiata, is the one who can lead them. This moment is heavy with choice. Sundiata could refuse. He could say that the past is gone, that his homeland cast him out, that he owes them nothing. He could live out his days as a respected guest or officer in a foreign court, safe from the storm, gathering back home. But that is not who he is. The years in exile have given him more than skill. They have given him perspective. He knows what it means for a people to live under rulers they did not choose. He knows what it means to be denied one's rightful place. The envoys speak, and somewhere deep inside, the prophecy awakens again. The stories his mother told him by firelight come back. The memory of standing for the first time, staff in hand, returns with new force. He listens. He asks questions. He looks at the faces of the men who have traveled so far to find him. And then, Sundiata makes his choice. He will return, not as a wandering exile, but as a leader ready to reclaim his homeland. This decision sets everything else in motion. All the years of wandering, all the pain of exile, all the lessons learned in foreign lands, they now point toward a single path. Back to the lands of the Mande, back toward confrontation with Sumanguru, back toward the destiny that has waited, patient and unfulfilled, since the day a small boy pulled himself to his feet with an iron staff. Sundiata does not simply march home alone. To challenge a ruler as powerful as Sumanguru, he will need more than courage. He will need allies. As he begins his journey back toward the lands of the Mande, messages are sent ahead of him. Old friends, relatives, and sympathetic chiefs learn that the exiled prince is returning. The idea spreads. The time of scattered resistance is ending. One by one, leaders from different Mande communities prepare to meet him. Some come with enthusiasm, eager to see the boy of prophecy now grown into a man. Others come with caution, weighing the risks of open rebellion against Soso's might. They choose a place to gather, a site that appears in many versions of the epic, Sibi. There, under open skies, and perhaps beneath a great tree, the chiefs of Mande assemble. Picture the scene. Men arrive with entourages, banners, and warriors at their backs. The air hums with conversation, old rivalries, questions, and hope. No one yet knows how this will end. At the center of this gathering stands Sundiata. He is no longer the marginal figure of Nyani, nor the guest of foreign courts. Here, he is the axis around which the future might turn. The chiefs speak. Each has his own grievances against Sumanguru. Heavy tribute, humiliation, fear for their children and their lands. They also remember their own divisions. For years, the Mande have not been fully united. Local disputes, dynastic quarrels, and personal pride have kept them from standing as one people. Sundiata listens. He understands that if he is to lead them, it cannot be by force alone. He must become the point of unity in a world accustomed to fracture. In some tellings, this is the moment when pledges of loyalty are given. The chiefs swear to recognize Sundiata as their leader in war. They agree to fight under a single banner, despite their different backgrounds and interests. This unity is not just political, it is almost sacred. Oaths are sworn not lightly, but with ritual weight. Words are spoken that bind honor and reputation to the cause. Sundiata, in turn, promises to fight for more than his own crown. He presents himself as the defender of the entire Manda world, the one who will free them from Sumanguru's tyranny and restore their dignity. In that moment, something important happens. The idea of Mali, not just as a place but as a shared project, begins to take shape. The gathering at Sibi is where scattered suffering crystallizes into coordinated action. It is where exiles, defeated chiefs, and worried leaders become an army in waiting. As the assembly breaks, the chiefs do not return home merely as subjects. They return as partners in a coming war, each responsible for raising warriors, gathering supplies, and preparing their people for the struggle ahead. The die is cast. Sumanguru may still command fear, but now Sundiata commands something just as powerful: hope, organized and armed. War is not won by enthusiasm alone. It must be shaped, planned, and supplied. After Sibi, Sundiata and his allies turn to the practical work of rebellion. Messengers travel between towns and villages, coordinating movements. Blacksmiths, respected figures in Mande society, labor over weapons, tools of both war and destiny. Sundiata's strength is not just in his own bravery, but in his ability to weave alliances. He understands that each chief, each kingdom, brings something different to the table: skilled archers, experienced cavalry, knowledge of terrain, access to supplies. He does not try to erase these differences. Instead, he integrates them into a broader strategy. Meetings are held in quiet compounds and under starlit skies. Maps may be drawn in the dust, showing rivers, hills, and paths of attack. Scouts bring information about Sumanguru's forces, their numbers, their positions, their strengths. But there is another side to this preparation, one that goes beyond tactics. In the epic tradition, war in this world is not only physical, it is spiritual. Sumanguru is portrayed as a master of occult forces. His enemies believe that ordinary weapons may not be enough to harm him. So Sundiata must think not only like a general, but like someone who understands the spiritual battlefield. Diviners are consulted. Priests and seers are asked to interpret signs and omens. Protective charms or gree-gree are prepared for warriors to wear into battle. Sundiata himself receives counsel on how to counter Sumanguru's powers. In some versions of the story, he learns of the one kind of weapon or specific object that can break the Sorcerer King's invulnerability. This knowledge becomes as important as any sword or spear. The warriors, too, must be prepared. They are not professional soldiers in the modern sense. They are farmers, hunters, and townsmen who will risk their lives for their families and their honor. Before they march, they say goodbye to loved ones. They stand in courtyards and fields, receiving blessings, embraces, and last looks. Mothers, wives, brothers, and children watch them go, not knowing who will return. Sundiata understands what he is asking of them. He walks among his men, speaks to them, reminds them what they fight for: their lands, their freedom, the right to live without fear of a distant ruler's cruelty. As preparations reach their peak, a quiet resolve settles over the camp. The time of waiting is ending. The time of testing is approaching. In the rhythm of the drums, in the sharp scent of forged iron, in the whispered prayers of families left behind, one truth begins to ring clear. The Mande will no longer accept the world as Sumanguru has made it. They will try to make a new one, even if it costs them everything. At last, the army moves. Columns of warriors stretch across the landscape, dust rising beneath their feet and hooves. banners flutter in the wind, each marking the contingent of a different chief, now united under Sundiata's command. The march itself is a test. Food must be carried or gathered. Rivers must be crossed. Scouts must range ahead, eyes sharp for signs of Soso patrols or ambushes. By day, the sun beats down on armor, leather, and skin. By night, fires burn across the camp, small islands of light in the dark sea of the savannah. Around those fires, men talk in low voices. They share stories of past battles, of families left behind, of the suffering they hope this war will end. Some are afraid, others feel almost calm, as if they have been walking toward this confrontation all their lives. At the center of this moving mass is Sundiata. He does not walk as a solitary hero, but as the focal point of thousands of hopes. When he rides to the front, men straighten. When he speaks, silence falls. He does not promise an easy fight. Instead, he promises meaning. Whatever happens at the coming battle, it will not be for nothing. Their actions will shape the fate of generations yet unborn. As they draw closer to Sumanguru's territory, tension rises. Signs of the Sorcerer King's rule appear. Outposts, patrols, perhaps villages bearing the scars of his demands. The abstract idea of Soso tyranny becomes visible in real places and real faces. Messages go out, probing for information on Sumanguru's movements. Where is his army? How many men does he bring? What routes might he take? Eventually, the answer becomes clear. The clash will come near Karina, a place that will be remembered in song and story for centuries. Karina is not just a dot on a map. It is a landscape of strategic importance, open enough for large armies to maneuver, but with features that can be used wisely or foolishly. For Sundiata and his allies, it is the ground upon which their future will be decided. As they make camp in the days leading up to battle, a solemn mood settles over the army. Preparations shift from long-term planning to immediate readiness. Weapons are checked and sharpened. Charms are tightened around arms and necks. Prayers are said with extra care. Some warriors may not sleep much. Others sleep deeply, exhausted from the march, trusting their fate to the morning. Far away, somewhere beyond the line of the horizon, Sumanguru and his forces are also preparing. Two tides are rolling toward each other, drawn by the gravity of history. Soon, they will meet. Dawn breaks over Karina. The sky shifts from black to deep blue, then to pale light. On that plain, two armies face each other, their silhouettes dark against the morning. On one side stands Sumanguru Kante, king of Soso, master of a fearsome reputation. His warriors are hardened by conquest, experiencing crushing resistance. They trust in their numbers, in their past victories, and in the terrifying aura of their leader. On the other side stands Sundiata Keita, the once exiled prince returned with a coalition of Mande chiefs and allies. His army is a patchwork of different peoples, bound together by shared suffering and a shared dream of freedom. The air between the two forces is heavy, not just with dust and heat, but with the weight of possibility. Before the fighting begins, there may be speeches. Sundiata rides before his men, reminding them why they have come. He speaks of home, of children's futures, of the chains they intend to break. He may also speak of Sumanguru's supposed invincibility, and of how that invincibility can be broken. For he carries more than weapons, he carries knowledge. In many tellings, Sundiata has learned the secret of Sumanguru's vulnerability. Perhaps a particular object or creature can pierce his defenses. Perhaps a certain charm weakens his magic. The details change from griot to griot, but the message is the same. No power is absolute. Even the greatest tyrant has a flaw. As the sun climbs higher, the time for words ends. Horns sound, drums thunder. The armies begin to move. Arrows darken the sky, rising and falling in deadly arcs. Spearmen advance, shields locked. Cavalry sweep along the flanks, kicking up clouds of dust. The clash is enormous, a storm of metal, muscle, and will. Men shout battle cries and prayers, the two often indistinguishable. The ground trembles under the force of charging horses and running feet. In the chaos, individual acts of bravery and fear are woven into a larger tapestry that no single person can see completely. A warrior sees only the foes in front of him, the friends at his side, but from a higher vantage. History will remember this day as a single turning point. Sundiata moves through the battlefield like a living banner. Where he appears, his men fight harder. Where his voice carries, fear recedes. Sumanguru too is present, or at least his legend is. Some claim to see him moving untouched through danger, weapons glancing off him as if he were made of something other than flesh. Others insist they feel the pressure of his presence like a physical weight. At some crucial moment, the knowledge Sundiata has gained about Sumanguru's weakness comes into play. The invincible king is struck in the one way he cannot withstand. The sorcerer's aura cracks. What happens exactly is told in many different ways, but the outcome is always the same. Sumanguru is forced to retreat. The spell of his invincibility is broken. When warriors see their supposedly untouchable leader wounded or fleeing, something shifts inside them. Fear gives way to shock. Shock gives way to doubt. For an army, doubt is a dangerous disease. The momentum turns. Sundiata's forces press harder. The Soso lines begin to waver, then break. The battle, once balanced on a knife's edge, tilts decisively toward the Mande coalition. What began as a defiant gamble starts to look like a historical triumph. By day's end, the plain of Karina bears the scars of violence, fallen men, broken weapons, churned earth. But behind the grief and loss, a new reality is emerging. Sundiata has defeated Sumanguru's power in open battle. The tide has turned. This does not mean the struggle is completely over, but it does mean that the aura of Soso dominance has been shattered. For the first time in years, the people of the Mande can imagine a different future, not under the rule of a distant sorcerer king, but under one of their own. The victory at Karina is not the end. It is the beginning of the end. An empire like Soso does not vanish in a single day. Even with Sumanguru defeated or driven away, there are still strongholds, loyalists, and regions accustomed to his rule. Sundiata and his allies understand this. They move to capitalize on their victory quickly before the shock can fade and resistance can reorganize. Campaigns continue against remaining Soso forces. Cities and fortresses that once carried Sumanguru's banner are confronted with a choice: submit to Sundiata's new order or fall in battle. Some resist and are defeated. Others, tired of fear and impressed by Sundiata's triumph, switch allegiance. The map of power in the region begins to redraw itself. Among the most symbolic acts is the taking or destruction of Soso's capital. The city that once served as the heart of Sumanguru's empire becomes a monument to his fall. In the epic imagination, this moment marks the final collapse of his dark reign. In the vacuum left behind, Sundiata begins to build something new. He is no longer merely the liberator of the Mande. He is the architect of a broader political entity that will come to be known as the Mali Empire. The chiefs who once met him at Sibi now recognize him not just as a war leader, but as a ruler. His authority extends over former Sosa lands, over Mande territories, and over newly allied regions drawn by the promise of stable leadership and fairer rule. The story has turned. The exile has become the emperor. The boy who was mocked for crawling in the dust now sits at the center of a rising empire. Yet Sundiata's work is not finished. Winning battles is one thing. Building a durable order is another. That challenge, the work of founding and organizing Mali, is the next chapter in his story. When the dust of war begins to settle, Sundiata faces a new question. Not how do we defeat Sumanguru, but how do we rule the world he has left behind? An empire needs a heart, a place where decisions are made, where roads converge, where the ruler's presence can be felt even when he is far away. For Sundiata, that heart will be Mali, and within Mali, a capital often named Niani in tradition. Niani sits in a region of rolling savanna near the upper Niger, connected to important trade routes, but still close to the ancestral lands of the Mande. It is not a city born overnight. It grows as Sundiata gathers power, drawing people, goods, and ideas toward it, like a magnet. Imagine the transformation. What was once a modest town becomes a bustling political and commercial center. Courtyards are expanded. New compounds are built. The steady rhythm of daily life is overlaid with the faster pulse of imperial business. In the early mornings, messengers arrive from distant provinces, carrying news of harvests, disputes, and border tensions. Councillors move through shaded walkways, discussing policies, tributes, and alliances. Artisans, traders, and scholars find opportunity in the growing capital. For the people of the region, Mali is no longer just a name. It is a new reality, with Niani as its visible symbol. Sundiata does not rule from a tower, afar and unreachable. He is present in the city's life, receiving delegations, judging disputes, planning campaigns when necessary. The choice of Niani, close enough to his ancestral base to feel familiar, yet positioned to oversee a larger world, reflects Sundiata's dual identity. He is both a son of the Mande and the founding father of something greater. An empire is more than land taken by force. It is the daily work of making a center that others recognize and respond to. In Niani, Sundiata begins that work. Winning a battle is a moment. Building justice is a lifetime. As the new ruler of a sprawling realm, Sundiata must answer a hard question. How do you create order among many different peoples, clans, and interests without simply replacing one kind of oppression with another? The tradition remembers him not only as a conqueror, but as a lawgiver. His name is linked with a charter known as the Kurukan Fuga, a foundational set of principles said to have been laid out after his victory. Whether every detail can be traced exactly is less important than what this memory tells us, that people saw Sundiata as someone who tried to organize society, not just dominate it. Picture a great gathering after the wars are over. Chiefs, elders, and representatives of different clans and professions assemble. Under the sky of the Manda world, rules are spoken, debated, and agreed upon. These principles touch many parts of life. Relations between different clans and lineages, the rights and duties of nobles and commoners, the responsibilities of warriors, hunters, and smiths, the protection of women, children, and strangers. In the epic memory, the Kurukan Fuga functions almost like a constitution of the Mande world. It does not erase hierarchy, but it tries to give it structure and limits. Sundiata's authority, then, is not just personal. It is embedded in a framework of agreements and expectations. He surrounds himself with counselors, allies, and officials who help interpret and apply these norms. Local leaders retain some autonomy, but they operate within a broader system that identifies Mali as the overarching power. In doing this, Sundiata balances two forces: the need for central control to keep the empire from splintering, the need for local participation to keep that control from becoming unbearable. This balance will be tested many times in the generations after him, but in Sundiata's story, we see the beginning of a tradition in which power is not just seized. It is codified, explained, and shared. The griots remember him, therefore, not only as a lion on the battlefield, but as a mind that thought deeply about how people should live together. As order takes root, prosperity begins to grow. The Mali Empire sits in a region rich in one resource that the wider world craves: gold. To the north stretches the Sahara, vast, harsh, and dangerous. But across that ocean of sand run trade routes, linking West Africa to North Africa, and, beyond it, to the Mediterranean and the Middle East. Salt, mined in desert regions, flows southward. Gold, taken from the forest and savanna zones, flows northward. Along with them move cloth, books, horses, and ideas. Under Sundiata, Mali does not try to isolate itself. Instead, it positions itself to benefit from these exchanges. By stabilizing key territories and ensuring safer passage, Sundiata makes it easier for caravans to move through his realm. Merchants find a ruler who can grant protection, enforce contracts, and punish bandits. In return, the empire takes its share from what passes through: tribute, taxes, gifts. Over time, this flow of wealth strengthens Mali's ability to maintain armies, build its cities, and support its elites. But trade brings more than money. It brings contact with distant cultures and faiths. Long before Sundiata, Islam had begun moving into West Africa through merchants and scholars. By his time, Muslim communities existed in many towns, especially along major trade routes. The epic of Sundiata is rooted in Mande spiritual culture, with its diviners, hunter's law, and belief in powerful forces in the natural and unseen worlds. At the same time, the historical empire he founded would grow increasingly connected to the Muslim world. Sundiata's age is thus a bridge between older traditions and new religious currents, between local life and long-distance exchange. At caravan stops and in bustling markets, you can imagine the voices: Mande, Soninke, Fulani, Arabic, dealers haggling over prices, scholars debating ideas, travelers swapping stories of distant lands. The Mali Empire, which begins as a response to local tyranny, becomes part of a much larger network of human movement and communication. Sundiata may not live to see the full flowering of this global role, which will become dazzling in the time of later rulers like Mansa Musa. But he lays the foundation. He creates the stability and structure that make such future wealth and fame possible. Empires leave ruins, coins, and political records, but some of their most powerful legacies live in stories. In the Mande world, storytellers are not casual entertainers. They are a professional class with their own training, responsibilities, and status. They are the griots. Griots carry genealogies in their heads, tracing lines of kings, heroes, and families back through centuries. They know praise songs, histories, and moral tales. They accompany themselves with instruments like the kora or balafon, turning memory into music. Sundiata's life, as it moves from lived experience into tradition, becomes one of their greatest subjects. Around evening fires in the compounds of nobles, at festivals and important gatherings, the griot may begin. Listen, you who want to know where Mali came from. Listen, you who wish to remember what our ancestors endured and achieved. Let me tell you of Sundiata, the lion child, the boy who could not walk, the exile who returned. Through their words, scenes we have described in this script come alive again. Sogolon's tears, the iron staff, the councils at Sibi, the thundering hooves at Karina. But the griots do more than recite facts. They interpret. They highlight what matters for each generation. They link Sundiata's story to questions of justice, leadership, courage, and community. In this way, Sundiata becomes not just a figure of the past, but a mirror in which later listeners see themselves. A young ruler might hear the epic and ask, am I ruling like Sundiata, with strength and fairness, or like Sumanguru, with fear and greed? An ordinary person might hear it and remember that even the greatest heroes faced humiliation, doubt, and hardship. If Sundiata could rise from crawling in a courtyard to commanding an empire, what might be possible for them in their own smaller way? Over time, different regions and griot lineages developed their own versions of the story. Some emphasize magic more, some emphasize politics, some add or adjust episodes to speak to local concerns. But across these variations, one constant remains: the belief that the origins of Mali and the meaning of power itself are wrapped up in the narrative of Sundiata Keita. His empire will eventually change, decline, and give way to other states. Yet his story endures, carried forward by voices, instruments, and memory. Every life, no matter how great, bends toward an ending. After years of war, building, and governing, Sundiata enters the later phase of his life. He is no longer the young exile or the newly returned liberator. He is the established ruler of a powerful realm. The daily work of empire continues, resolving disputes among nobles, maintaining alliances, guarding borders, watching over trade. Perhaps he has moments of nostalgia, remembering the boy who once struggled to stand, or the wanderer who had no home. Perhaps he looks at the bustling capital and the network of loyal chiefs, and sees the distance he has traveled. The epic tradition does not dwell heavily on the details of his old age, but it remembers one thing clearly. Sundiata dies. He is a hero, but he is also human. Accounts differ on how his life ends. Some speak of an accident, others are more vague. What matters in the tradition is less the exact manner of his death, and more the meaning that surrounds it. When word spreads that the great lion of Mali has fallen, grief ripples through the land. Griots compose lamentations. Allies, subjects, and family members feel the ground shift under them. But the world he built does not collapse overnight. His dynasty continues. The Keita line he established rules Mali for generations, presiding over an empire that will become famous across Africa and beyond. In this way, Sundiata's death is not the end of his impact. It is the point at which his life passes fully into legend. From then on, when people speak his name, they speak it with a dual awareness, that he was once a living man, with all the complexities that implies, and that he has become a symbol larger than any biography. The boy who could not walk has traveled as far as a human being can travel, from vulnerability to power, from obscurity to memory. The task of telling his story now falls entirely to others. Centuries have passed since Sundiata walked the earth. The Mali Empire he founded rose, flourished, and eventually declined. Other powers took its place, borders shifted. New languages, religions, and technologies reshaped the region. And yet, the echo of his story remains. In the 14th century, travelers like Ibn Battuta would visit Mali and marvel at its wealth and order, seeing the mature fruits of a tree Sundiata helped plant. Generations of rulers traced their legitimacy back to him, presenting themselves not as isolated kings, but as heirs to the Lion of Mali. In the modern era, scholars, writers, and artists have turned again and again to the epic of Sundiata. They read it as history, as literature, as a window into West African philosophy and values. It has been written down, translated, adapted, and taught in classrooms around the world. For people of the Mande world and the wider African diaspora, Sundiata's story carries special weight. It is a reminder that long before colonialism and modern nation-states, there were African empires built by African leaders with their own systems of law, trade, culture, and thought. For anyone, anywhere, his life offers universal themes. That weakness in youth does not define the whole arc of a life. That exile and loss can become the training ground for leadership. That tyranny, no matter how invincible it seems, always carries within it a hidden vulnerability. That real power lies not just in winning battles, but in creating a world where people can live with a measure of justice and dignity. As you listen to or tell this story today, you are part of a very old chain. From the first griot who sang of Sundiata by firelight, to the scholars who analyzed his epic, to you watching this video now. Each retelling keeps the Lion of Mali walking a little further into the future. The dust of Karina has long settled. The walls of Old Niani have faded. But in words, in memory, and in the imagination of all who hear his name, Sundiata Keita still stands. The boy who could not walk, the exile who returned, the warrior who broke a sorcerer's grip, the ruler who laid the foundations of Mali. His story is not just about the past. It is a question aimed at the present. What kind of world will we build with the power we have? And what will those who come after us remember about the way we used it? You've just heard the epic journey of Sundiata Keita, from a child mocked for his weakness to the founder of the Mali Empire, from exile and humiliation to lawgiver and legend. If this story pulled you in, and you'd like more long-form journeys through history like this, it really helps the channel if you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. I'd also love to hear from you in the comments. Which part of Sundiata's life hit you the hardest? His struggle as a child, his years in exile, or his final stand at Karina? And what other empires or figures would you like to see told in this slow, cinematic way? Thank you for spending this time here. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep exploring the stories that shaped our world.